just came back in the room, but I think he said we were on air, so I would like to call to order the October 4th, 2021, Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners work session. Welcome, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I think I was having some difficulty with my video earlier. But at any rate, yes, sir.
You are having some audio difficulty as well.
Okay. Well, I am going to turn the meeting over to Vice Chairman Honeycutt to proceed with approval of the agenda while I try to reboot and see if I can make this work. You got it, Diane?
I do. I have it.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners work session, October 4th, 2021. And at this time, I would like to have approval of the work session agenda.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion from Blake and a second from Commissioner Strang. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? Okay. And now we're going to go to the discussion items, and we will start with 3.1, Cooperative Extension. And we're excited to have with us today our North Carolina Cooperative Extension volunteer, Joyce Klutz, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you for being here today. Whoops, can't hear you. You're muted. Still can't hear you. I could hear you earlier today.
Mute that.
There we go.
How about that? Is that all right?
Yes, ma'am, we got you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for letting me bother you today on your work session. But I would like to just introduce myself as a newly recruited Cooperative Extension volunteer for the South Central District. And it is the North Carolina State Extension State Advisory Council that I will be serving on for 3 years. And it will be representing Cabarrus, Mecklenburg, and Gaston counties. And with that thought, I would like to bring you greetings from North Carolina State. That would be Dr. Richard Linton, who is Executive Director of the and Dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Science, and also for Richard Bonanno, our Director for North Carolina State Extension. And I would like to take an opportunity to thank the commissioners for their support of Cooperative Extension in Cabarrus County. Not all our counties have the government support, and you all have been very integral in keeping our programming for the citizens of Cabarrus County up front, and I appreciate that so much. I did include a little pamphlet. I hope you all have a copy of that, that talks about this organization, North Carolina State Extension State Advisory Council. And if you have that, if you'll pull that out, I just have a couple things just to point out to you while I'm at your meeting. And under the mission statement of our organization, it says, the very first one says to advocate with government and community leaders. And of course, I am an advocate for Cooperative Extension, and since you are the government leaders here, this is one of my jobs, so to speak. And also, next to the last, ensures programming meets local needs. And here you all are in the public, and you might see some needs that Cooperative Extension maybe has not addressed. There may be some vacancies here and there that possibly our citizens are lacking, that Cooperative Extension could step up and have some programming to alleviate the need, or education, or whatever that might be. And then also on the inside, on the second page, under the goals, it's about the third one down. It says, Bill relationships with federal, state, and local government and community leaders to effectively advocate for North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service and private resource development, and work with North Carolina State Extension state program leaders and university departments to ensure that programs are relative and the resources are available at the county level for delivery of quality programs. We have some wonderful agents in our county that do outstanding programs, but we want to be sure we haven't missed any bases. So if you see something that needs to happen, here we are. And then under partnership, that last paragraph, it says today that partnerships include county government working to solve local problems, and national network of land-grant universities and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And of course, North Carolina is outstanding in the fact that it has two land-grant universities, which is North Carolina State and North Carolina A&T. And then our last section on responsibilities, number 4, is just to be a visible, articulate representative of SAC in an assigned cluster of counties. So with that little thought in mind, if you have any needs or any kind of programming that you see needs to happen, we have a new director, Tracy LeCompte, and we have quite a few wonderful agents that could possibly meet that need, or if I can help in any way, please let me know. My card's on the back. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Joyce. Are there any questions of Joyce while we have her, or suggestions that have come to your mind at the moment? Well, we want to thank you for being here today and sharing with us and for filling this volunteer position. I'm honored to serve as the commissioner liaison to the Cooperative Extension Advisory Council and Board, and so that's a great opportunity to hear what we do have going on in this community, which is quite extensive, and we are very fortunate. So thanks for all you do as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, our next item for discussion is the courthouse expansion project update from Kyle Billiford.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. Lauren, if you can share the images. Thank you very much. I'll just have you scroll through as I start to cue you. So a couple items on things that have been completed. All of the steel erection has been completed at the new courthouse. The elevated slab pours have been completed. They have started setting equipment, including chillers and pumps, predominantly in the basement level. We've completed and reviewed the mock-up with both the design team, county staff, and some of the Board of Commissioners. Has started the roof and exterior dry-in activities, as well as completed the pre-dry work in the basement and the first floor. So this image shows an aerial, and Lauren, if you can forward to the next one, please. This just shows, this was one of the shots that I just thought was interesting from the top level with the sun setting, and I thought the commissioners would appreciate it. Obviously, that the lower picture on there is the top roof slab. Lauren, you can scroll. So that is the mock-up wall. The courthouse exterior won't actually look like that, meaning not all of those things are jammed up that close to each other, but that is every type of exterior that will be on the entire building. So the way that that was built is that's literally how each turn, how each seam, how each caulk joint, how each sill, how each sunshade will actually look, the colors of it. So the design team spent a lot of time out there with the construction manager at risk, making sure that everything was as spec'd, and then county staff, specifically infrastructure and asset management, had time to go through it and see how all of those things attach and what type of insulation is behind them and what type of seam they have and what type of drainage weep they'll have and what color that is and where it's located, which doesn't seem like an important thing when you're building it, but 10 years down the line, it's critical. You can scroll to the next picture, Lauren. I thought this was interesting because Messer went through a painstaking evaluation on how to get the chillers, which is pretty much large pieces of equipment that create your cool water that provides your air conditioning throughout the building. They went through a painstaking engineering mission on how to get those into the building. So that is the ramp that leads to your subdeck or your basement level, where you have your secure parking and also your juvenile inmate drop-offs. And that ramp is only weighted for certain weight limit in a certain amount of area. So meaning you can spread out more weight, but when it's condensed in something the size of a chiller, you have to be very specific on how you do it because there's beams that run under there. So they had an engineer evaluate what they could put on there and how slow they had to go and over what section of it. And they made this wonderful package for us and gave it to us because in about 15 years, we're going to have to do this with a new chiller. So it was great because this will save us from having to do it. Lauren, you could scroll the next picture. And that shows, you can't really see it on this picture with it minimized like this, but that's actually a steel plate over portions of that ramp, and that is distributing the weight. Thank you, Lauren. That's distributing the weight as the chiller goes over it. So it was very fascinating, and you can kind of see in the background that's actually a 90-degree tow truck. So it kind of has a winch on it that goes down, and that is what is winching that thing down. It's not the guys holding it that are seen in the picture. They're just guiding it. So it was a logistical nightmare. They had to have a crane to take it off and then to put it on there and then get that tow truck in there and winch that down. But I thought it was important to show the board just the type of asset and the kind of value add that a construction manager adds, specifically one of Messer's caliber, is they've provided the legwork for us that we won't have to do in about 15 or 20 years. You can scroll to the next picture, Lauren. And you can minimize out so the commissioners can see. Yeah, so that's just kind of an upward shot from the actual area inside that will house the patio for the judges. So that area is looking up at the rest of the courthouse. Next picture, Lauren. And that shows the roof membrane that will, there'll be pavers over that, but that's the area in the judges suite that they can walk out on. And that's actually how we were able to get natural light into both the DA's and the judges suites, was by creating that kind of recessed mezzanine or recessed patio that brings in natural light to their areas. You can scroll down. And that spot we were looking at is the gap that is showing between the 1975 building and the new courthouse. You can kind of see where the crane tees, if you will, and that is that gap. It almost looks like a hole underneath it. And again, this is another aerial showing everything going together. You can scroll to the next one. And that's your view from aerial from the Church Street side, or being right above the governmental center. Are there any questions?
Looking
I take
good.
it we're still on track, Kyle. I guess we're still on track for the completion.
January of 2023, sir. Yes.
I think, well, that's moved up some, hasn't it?
No, sir. I've been saying January 2023 since we started this, and I'll continue
Yeah,
to say it.
I don't know where I got November 22, but anyway, that's good. At least we're making a lot of progress.
Yeah, we'll have substantial completion in November, but you have a $5 million FF&E project to move in there and a lot of swing space. So in terms of will the building look complete and be operating in terms of the systems, the electrical systems, yes, but it won't be inhabited by the customers until January of 2023.
Okay, thank you, Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Kyle?
No, but this, not a question, but this is a good time to point out. He just said something that was monumentally significant that everybody needs to take note of. And my computer's making noises. He said he's been saying January 2023 since we started. That is significant because it has not turned into February, March, April, May, July 2023. It has stayed at January from the time Messer put a shovel in the ground. And I think anything can happen from here on forward. But when you put a good design team together with a good general contractor and the staff on the county level that are involved with seeing this forward. That's why that schedule hasn't changed. And Kyle, you know, I know you're not the type to take a bow. That's why I wanted to say something, but that is not an insignificant statement that you just made.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the comment.
I agree, and I've heard nothing but great remarks from people inside the courthouse, from what we've seen being on the site the other day, and just a lot of teamwork going into making this happen. And just I agree with Blake to say thank you very much for what you guys are doing to make this project go as seamlessly as it seems. I'm sure on your end that is not necessarily the case, but you are making it look that way for us, so thank you.
Well, I know the design team and the construction manager at risk and all the subs involved, and as well as the infrastructure and asset management staff, we all appreciate it very much. And yes, every day is like Christmas over there. So
Well,
it's the gift that keeps giving.
That's right. I'm with you. All right. I believe that if there's no other questions, anybody else have a question or comment? Okay, we will move on to discussion item 3.3, Families First Court Child Care Center at the courthouse, and that will be Kyle as well.
Yeah, I will go ahead and start the introduction of this, and then we have a guest who will present the rest of it. Back in March of 2019, we were approached by Family First Court Child Care Center. I believe they have a facility at the Rowan courthouse, and we were approached by them about putting in a facility in either the new building or the renovated building that would allow for child care while people are either there for jury duty or court cases, not so much for staff child care, but for folks that are citizens that are headed to the actual courthouse for business. And at that point, County Manager Mike Downs and myself advised them to present to the board. At that point, they weren't ready to. And since then, we've had some further discussions, and I believe they would like to present something. I don't think they have a fully flushed out and full-fledged plan of what they're asking for. There are some square footages numbers that they'll throw out, and I'll be able to comment on the cost of those. But I believe they are looking for the board's ideas or feelings about the actual concept, and then having some future decisions. So I don't want to take any of the thunder. I will introduce Jeannie. She can introduce herself and her title and where she works and what she does.
Thank you so much, Mr. Billifer. I apologize for not being there virtually, and I couldn't get my Microsoft team to work. But thank you for the opportunity to be here and present today. I'm the executive director with Families First North Carolina, Inc., and we are proposing a partnership with Cabarrus County to provide a drop-in court child care center to serve the Cabarrus County Courthouse. You know, this idea kind of generated about 4 years ago. It came up when a task force from Cabarrus County that was made up of attorneys, guardian ad litem, Department of Social Services, and it was convened and facilitated by Judge Christy Wilhelm. They had asked us as Families First to explore bringing 2 of our programs to Cabarrus County. One of those was the supervised visitation program, which provides a safe, nurturing place for children to visit with their non-custodial parents, usually in domestic violence or abuse cases or those kind of very fragile situations. And they wanted us to bring that resource to Cabarrus County. So in 2018, we've got a grant that provided the program every weekend in Cabarrus County. We house it at the Kannapolis YMCA, and we also opened up an office, a Cabarrus office at 11 Union Street. That's up and running now. The second program they asked us about, was, as Mr. Billifer had just said, was to have a drop-in court child care center that we have in Rowan County, to be a part of the new courthouse facilities and services. And you guys are moving right along with building. You're absolutely right. And we are ready to talk about, we'd like to be a part of that. The drop-in court child care center meets community needs on several levels. First of all, it keeps the little eyes and ears out of the courtroom drama. The little child needs to listen to the language, the discussions, or sometimes can be psychologically damaging and disruptive to children. So we like to keep their little eyes and ears out of the courtroom. And it also removes disruptive activities and interference from the courtroom. If children's in there, it could be disrupted, and sometimes the litigants or the parents can always give their full attention to the proceedings when they're having to deal with children. It also will bring us jury pools more representative because jurors can no longer be excused due to lack of child care. And the fragile families, the victims and witnesses, especially of domestic violence and abuse and other experiences, can lack resources for child care sometimes. And that lack of child care may cause parties to be late or miss appearances or have to reschedule and start all over again. And often they don't get the resources from the court services that they need at that time. And to provide a safe and enriching place for children who have to be there because they're witnesses or they're victims of child abuse or they're involved in custody cases. And so it provides a place for them to be and not have to be in the courtroom all the time. So this center will provide a safe and nurturing place where children can play and learn and have fun. We'll provide quality care and develop appropriate activities for children ages 6 weeks to 12 years on all days that the court is in operation for any family who has business at the courthouse. And as Mr. Bilber said, it's not generally open to non-employee child care. It's for people who have business at the courthouse. The center will represent high quality services, and we're going to be compliant with all applicable standards and policies and procedures. We're very fortunate to have a consultant with us that's going to help us put this together and a quality program. I think Gloria Peters is online with us also today. She's the executive director for the Mecklenburg County's drop-in court child care center called Larry King's Clubhouse. She has agreed to provide consultation to this project and getting us established and running. The Mecklenburg County program is a state-of-the-art model. And we're very lucky to have Ms. Peters help us with that. Some of you actually, I think, have visited, went on a tour of that program several years ago. But we appreciate Ms. Peters offering her expertise and time to establish a quality foundation for our Cabarrus Center. So what we need is to get started, we're looking at 3,000 square feet of space that could provide the rooms by age, like infant room, toddler room, and school age room, an office, a lobby, bathrooms for the children and staff, a kitchen area, storage for the records as well as the supplies. And then also asking to help us set up and furnish the initial program. And then we will work with Mr. Bilber and his staff and the contractors in the design and construction of what that would look like. And then we would explore and identify programs funding to support it initially and ways to sustain it over time, and to implement and manage the operations of the day-to-day program as we get up and running. So that's what we're asking the opportunity to do. I know this will be an investment that we can all be proud of. The Court Child Care Center offers a very positive experience for our little ones. Our staff here in Rowan, they care about the children. We call them our huggers and rockers because they give a lot of TLC to the children while they're visiting the center. And who knows, that may be the only hug that day. So not only at that, we help the courtroom stay uncluttered. We facilitate the jury pool and enhance the process and make it possible for our fragile families to serve without having to worry about child care. And it's a great resource for us to have. We hope that you will let us be a part of it. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Diane, I do have just a couple of questions. I was not familiar with Mecklenburg or Gaston. No, I think you said Rowan County and Mecklenburg have a center like this. Is
Yes.
it self-funded, or who pays for this?
Well, Gloria can answer for Mecklenburg. And Rowan County is, the space is provided by the court and they maintain it, as well as provide security there. But we look for grants to support the operation, day-to-day operation of the center in Rowan County. We don't have the size program we would have at Cabarrus. It would be more similar to the Mecklenburg one. And Gloria, can you tell them how you're funded in Mecklenburg County?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Gloria Peters. I'm the Executive Director of Larry King's Clubhouse. And in the courthouse in Mecklenburg County, we're fortunate in that we have a partnership with Mecklenburg County, and they help fund our center. Pretty much the monies that we get on an annual basis from Mecklenburg County, but that money is not guaranteed every year. We have to apply for it every year. Covers our personnel cost, and then we have fundraisers, and I write grants for the rest of our operating costs.
Well, you know, obviously Kyle will be taking a lead on this, no doubt, because of the amount of space that you're asking for, 3,000 square feet. Now, this is my initial thoughts, and you know, I don't know that we could find 3,000 feet that we could dedicate to the center. Is that something that we could look into, Kyle? Or, I mean, that's pretty sizable.
Yeah, we haven't programmed or schematic that out yet. So 3,000 square feet represents about a multi-purpose room and a half, or a little bit less than that, to give you guys a point of reference. I know you're not sitting in there, but that entire multi-purpose room is 2,000 square feet. So it kind of gives you an idea of what type of space they're looking at. It could be 3,500. It could end up being 4,000 once you start looking at the code implications of getting in and out. Again, there's all the utility runs and everything you'd have to do for that. There's been mention of a washer and dryer, which means you need to have a separate exhaust system for that. So there's some implications. The short answer to your question is that the second and third floor of the 1975 courthouse, which is going to be gutted and renovated, the way that was laid out for the future was to be used for courtrooms, and they actually laid those courtrooms out in there to make sure they could fit. So if you do this, you will be taking a chunk out of something.
Well, you know, I don't want to be a person that looks down on the project, especially if it's going to benefit children and benefit the citizens of Cabarrus County. But then again, I have to be honest with myself, and I have to be honest with all of you folks out there that watch this, and my fellow commissioners and everyone that's involved. And I think that this is how we get ourselves trapped a lot of times, is we provide services like this that we've never ever had before, and then it ends up, the taxpayers end up paying for it. Because like you said, Kyle, you know, we'd have to give up something in order to give this. And, you know, we didn't build the courthouse, or we're not planning on renovating the courthouse so that we can operate a daycare or whatever it might, childcare for people that's there for whatever business. They never have had that. And maybe I'm totally off base. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe you might say, Lynn, you're wrong. But, you know, I mean, if I had small children and I had to go to the courthouse for any business, if they wasn't of age for me to bring them, then it would be my responsibility to find someone to take care of those kids while I went to take care of my business. I don't think it's the taxpayers' expense. Don't get mad at me. Don't fuss at the messenger. I'm just telling you how I feel. And, you know, some of you may say, well, Lynn, you're wrong. But anyway, I don't want to kick it around too much, but that's my initial thoughts. I don't want us to spend a bunch of money researching something and trying to take away time from something that probably won't work out, in my opinion. That's all I have to say, Diane.
Thank you. And I believe Chairman Morris is back with us. Do you want to do a little sound check?
Yes, I hope that it's working correctly now. I see some thumbs up, so yeah, sorry about that technical difficulty, and I apologize to Ms. Sherrill that I'm a little behind on this discussion, although I was listening to it on television as we go along. But if I could just go back 1 minute to the funding aspect of this, and if I'm not mistaken, I think I've heard some discussion that you folks are experiencing some budgetary issues right now.
as far as continuing services, and I know this is maybe a different, you're talking about childcare in the courthouse here, and the discussion that I heard earlier was regarding the visitations with our foster children and things of that nature. Can you enlighten me just a little bit on that?
That's correct. And you probably heard that from Judy Klutzman, who's been helping us with Rowan. We have the supervised visitation program funded by Governor's Crime Commission for the past 14 years. We've never had any problems with it. And this year they didn't fund it because they had more requests than they had demands. And then, of course, there's a lot of COVID relief money and things like that went to other places. So it limited the amount of money that's available. We are anticipating that we're going to be getting that back in the next year round, which starts January 31st. We'll be applying again for that program. But you're right. And with regards to the space that we were talking about, that's the ideal space. The one in Rowan County operates on a much smaller space level if you wanted to go that route too. So there are options that we can talk about and negotiate if we needed to.
Well, and thank you for clarifying that. And so the question that I would have is, this space that you're talking about in the courthouse, do you propose to use that for these parent visitations with foster children or children that are in protective custody, whatever those circumstances are? Would that be this space that you're requesting here for that as well?
No, this space, the drop-in court childcare center is for anybody that has business in the courthouse that day. So if they're scheduled to be on docket, in courtroom 3 at 4 o'clock, then the parents can bring the children in. There are a lot of families who don't have access to childcare and support, those kinds of support services, which is, but no, that the drop-in court childcare center would not be where supervised visitation occurs.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't getting those two things confused.
Two separate things. That's right.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
One question. I'm just curious. Do you know about what the average length of stay is for a child that comes in there for a visit?
I can tell you for us, for our program, it's about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. I don't know what Gloria would, or if yours are, Gloria.
It's the same in Mecklenburg County. The average length of stay is 1 to 2 hours.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions, commissioners?
Yeah, this might. I think Chairman Morris, you were correct. Ms. Cheryl, you do provide those visitation services for our Human Services Department in another setting.
Yes, we do, and we have every weekend it's provided. It's housed at the YMCA in Kannapolis.
Okay, yeah, I think that's some of the conversations that Chairman Morris, you and I, and Ms. Calhoun have had, and Ms. Calhoun's always spoke very highly of
Yes.
this and their services they provide and how valuable they have been to our Human Services Department.
Absolutely. So a question that I would have for Mr. Billefer on this discussion, do we have the leisure to take this information and go back and think about it? Are you looking for feedback now? What's the timeline? What are your expectations of us?
I think the board, if you could get me kind of a direction that you want me to proceed by at latest the December meeting, and give me an idea if you want me to initiate a change order to the design contract with Silling Architects to facilitate the programming and design of this. That should give me enough time to incorporate it in GMP3, which would be the GMP that is the 1975 courthouse actual construction. In terms of costs, just top of my head and what type of space that would be, ballparking 120 per square feet. I'd say construction cost of sub 400,000. And then you've got design, construction materials testing, and then your FF&E or your furniture, because I believe that that was one of the requests, is to assist furnishing it. So, right now with what I'm hearing, which is limited, I would think less than $500,000 to get that all done.
Great, thank you. And the other question I had was, how many square feet is your facility in Rowan County?
Oh, probably, it's really small, probably about half that.
About 1,500 square feet. And then also, do you have an idea what the Mecklenburg County facility is?
Gloria?
Our indoor space is about 3,000 square feet.
Okay, so that's about the same. All right, commissioners, do you have other questions? Or do we have what we need to have some additional discussion and get back with Kyle on his timeline? I don't see any head nods otherwise, so I'll take that as a yes. Do you have something, Diane?
No, I mean, I would like to, for me, it would be nice to know, I hear what you're saying about the third or fourth floor of the courthouse, the old courthouse. I think it's what you said. And I hear of the estimate of the cost, rough estimate, I get that. And then the funding issue would be good to know in making this decision, but I know you can't nobody can probably make that, a good guess at that, I don't guess. So there's things that I would like to know, but I don't know how you tell me those things.
Great. That makes sense to me.
Very helpful, wasn't it?
Right. Okay, well, I'm sure that we will have opportunities to have additional discussion on this. And so thank you, both of you ladies, for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so now we are happy to have Debbie Brannon with us for the Innovation and Technology Report.
Good afternoon. I am happy to be here to present the October 4th, 2021 Innovation Report. As always, we'll start off with our Employee Digital Book Club book. October's book aligns with the program we're doing with the Center for Public Impact on how to fail forward the county's participating in this year. In this book, John C. Maxwell says the major difference between achieving people and average people is their perception of and response to failure. He covers the top reasons people fail and shows how to master the fear instead of being mastered by it. So I hope you'll listen to this book with me and discover the positive benefits of failure and the negative experiences you can overcome if you have the right attitude. Also on October 7th, county leadership has an opportunity to attend their second master class in the Failing Forward program to explore reimagining relationships and tackling complex problems. So again, here's our county strategic priorities, and I'll just leave this up here for a second so you can take a look at it. As we're going through the work session tonight, I believe you will touch on every one of these priorities as we address each of the items on your agenda. Tonight, our innovation report is on a healthy and safe community because October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And this year's tagline is do your part to be cyber smart. Jack Dodd usually presents in October. I'm sure you remember him in the past couple of years, who was our cybersecurity administrator, but we have so many things going on in the cybersecurity area. He was a little overwhelmed, so I volunteered to do it for him this year. So cybersecurity is everyone's job, and this aligns with our Cabarrus County healthy and safe community goal to sustain a culture where safety is a shared priority for residents, businesses, employees, and visitors. So everyone must do their job in protecting their information and securing their systems and devices. And there are many steps individuals can take to enhance their cybersecurity without requiring a significant investment or the help of an IT professional. So here's a look at 8 tips that you can put into action now. Lock down your login, make it long and unique. A long passphrase is a sentence that's at least 12 characters long, and you can focus on a positive sentence or a phrase that you like to think about and that's easy to remember, and take the first letter of each word and make that your long passphrase. Also, anytime you have the opportunity to use two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication, use it whenever it's often. And that might be, receiving a text when you log in to your text number. So that way, if your password and user ID are ever compromised, you're going to get a text that somebody's used your account. So make sure you sign up for those types of multi-factor authentication. When in doubt, throw it out. Links and emails and tweets and texts and posts and social media pages and online advertisements are the easiest way for cyber criminals to get your sensitive information. So be wary of any click or downloading anything that comes from a stranger, or sometimes even if it comes from someone and you're not expecting it. So essentially just don't trust links. You want to keep a clean machine. Keep all the software on your internet connected devices up to date, and that will reduce the risk of infection from ransomware and malware. You want to configure your devices to automatically upload and update those updates, or at least notify you when an update's available. And remember to back it up. Protect your work by backing your systems up. If you have a copy of your data and your device falls victim to ransomware or other cyber threats, you'll be able to restore the data from a backup. And own your online presence. Every time you sign up for a new account, take a look at the settings, the privacy settings, and make sure they're all set to something you're comfortable with for information sharing. And regularly check these information settings at least once a year to make sure they're still configured for your comfort. Sometimes changes and updates can change those settings, so you want to keep an eye on them. And share with care. Think before posting about yourselves and others online. Consider what a post reveals, who might see it, and how it might affect you or others. If you're posting pictures of yourself on vacation, and you let just anybody see those posts, you might be an opportunity for somebody to rob your house. Consider creating an alternate persona that you might use for online profiles, and limit how much of your own personal information you share. I just had this discussion with my mom. Sometimes you'll see these surveys that come on Facebook, what's your favorite color? What's your middle name? Where did you go to high school? All of these questions are usually questions that are in that multi-factor authentication, or to access your bank account or things of that nature. So just avoid those surveys. Don't put that personal information out there. Also, be savvy about your Wi-Fi hotspots. Public wireless networks and hotspots are not secure, which means that anyone could potentially see what you're doing on your laptop or your smartphone when you're connecting to them. Limit what you do on public Wi-Fi, and avoid logging into key accounts like email and financial services if you're on a public Wi-Fi. Always use a VPN, a virtual private network, or a personal mobile hotspot for more secure connections. So for more information on cybersecurity, you can check out these trusted online sources provided by the National Cybersecurity Alliance and the Cybersecurity and Information Security Agency. They have Twitter, they have Facebook, they have LinkedIn, they have a website account. And also keep an eye on Cabarrus County social media in the month of October, and you'll see some posts about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So everyone do your part and be cyber smart.
Great. Thank you, Debbie. Any questions anyone has for Debbie and that information? There's, I think probably in my case, I'm not smart enough to ask the good questions, because you're listing down those things, and I'm saying I've done that and I do that, and so that was good information. All right, thank you very much. And we move now to discussion items for action. First up, from Active Living in Parks, is a discussion from Byron Hagler. And Byron, we're glad to have you with us tonight.
Good evening, commissioners, and thank you so much for having me to discuss this topic of a request to extend commission terms. The Active Living in Parks Commission and the Senior Center Advisory Council members requested to extend all members' terms by 1 year due to COVID. Both committees met over the last 18 months, virtually and in person. However, there were not any meetings from March through October of 2020 when the senior centers were closed and the parks only had daily visitors and no events. In-person meetings have been held for the last 3 months, or for 3 months before the Delta variant numbers in Cabarrus County were rising and protocols were changed again to virtual. And both committees have energetic and involved members who help provide quality programs and events for citizens of the county. So if approved, members' terms will be staggered to provide continuity. Obviously, during this time, it's very hard to recruit for high quality members and to go out and outreach and to fill these vacant slots. So we're requesting to extend everyone's current term for 1 year.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for Byron? All righty, we thank you very much, and we appreciate what those committees do. And they've been those parks and senior centers, when they've been able to function, have been more important than ever, I think, during these last months. So we appreciate what you do and what they do.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. All right, we move now to item 4.2, which is appointments to boards and committees. And included in our agenda, and I think each of you have also received additional emails, are all the information about the various committees and recommendations. And so are there any questions at this time about any of those? Okay, hearing none, then we will move on to item 4.3. This is a resolution in support of intersection improvements at NC 2427 and Reed Pine Bluff Roads. We're happy to have Jonathan Marshall with us to talk about that.
And if I could ask the clerk to pull up page 40, perhaps I'll be getting to that part very soon. This is a resolution of support that the NCDOT has requested from the Board of Commissioners. Both the town of Midland and city of Bluff requested that the intersection of Highway 2427 with Reed Mine Road coming in from the north and Pine Bluff Road from the south be studied for possible safety and efficiency improvements. NCDOT conducted those studies, looked at accident data, and took input from the emergency service providers there, and have determined that there are needed safety improvements. So you can see both the letter from the town and the city in asking for that study, as well as a letter from the Midland Volunteer Fire Department chief indicating how many times they've responded to accidents at the intersection. Also dealing with the severity of the accidents, because they are side impact and that is a high-speed corridor. They've been extremely severe incidents. So you can see the proposed improvement. This is just an illustration. But essentially what it does is it does not allow people heading north on Pine Bluff or south on Reed Mine to go straight across or to make a left turn onto 2427. So if you are westbound on 2427 and want to go south on Pine Bluff, you will have to pass the intersection. There'll be a lane that you get out of the main highway stream and then take a U-turn and go back and a right on Pine Bluff. And of course, the reverse for Reed Mine. In the same way, if you're trying to cross the intersection, if you're northbound on Pine Bluff, you would take a right on 2427, the U-turn, and then a right on Reed Mine Road to go straight across, and the reverse if you're going southbound. So they're just asking the commissioners to consider this resolution of support. You've done this in the past, and then NCDOT will continue to do the more fine-tuned design of this and seek the ultimate funding for it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Jonathan? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we move to item 4.4 from Department of Human Services, Congregate Nutrition Lunch Plus Budget Amendment. We're happy to have Anthony Hodges with us for that item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to come and speak with you this afternoon. As you recall, back in June, I presented the FY22 Home and Community Care Block Grant Funding Plan, and you approved it for this year. And part of that funding plan, even though it's not part of the block grant, but included in that plan, is funding that we received from USDA. It's a 80 cents per meal that we serve funding that we get through USDA. And the amount that was approved in that funding plan is $35,952. And what's in our budget is $33,705. So a little bit over $2,200 more that we got approved for. So I'm just asking for an approval for the budget amendment to correct our budget to make sure that matches what the funding plan is. And there was a slight change in the Congregate block grant money, $134 less. So that was adjusted down.
Okay, any questions for Anthony, Commissioners? Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. We move now to item 4.5 from Finance, North Carolina Educational Lottery Payment Application for School Debt. We're happy to have Wendy Hegler with us for that item.
Good afternoon. Each year we come before the board for approval of the North Carolina Education Lottery Payment Application, and we use this money for school debt. 2.3 was originally budgeted in the Community Investment Fund, and we are increasing this by $180,000. And this will still be used, the lottery money will still be used to pay for school debt, but it'll free up money to move 5 mobile units to Hickory Ridge Elementary School. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one question for Wendy. First off, hey, Wendy, glad to have you with us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, we used to get $2 million a year from the lottery, and we realized that they were holding on to our money that we could use here locally, so we increased it to $2.3 million. Now, this change that you're asking us to do of $2,480,000, will that be the new amount we're going to be asking for annually? Or this a one-time shot?
This is the $180,000 increase is a one-time increase. The amount that we receive each year just depends on, I guess, the lottery proceeds allocation. So it's usually around $2.3 million. So it's been a little more. So I can get you an exact number that we do have in lottery proceeds.
No, that's not necessary. But okay. I've made this statement before with our former finance director, and that is, you know, when we got so many needs here, we don't want the state to hold on to the money. We need to get the money here so we can use it for such projects like you're talking about, for the mobile units and, you know, anything. If they got $2.5 million, we ought to get $2.5 million. And I know our budget is built around $2.3 million. That's how I think we had been doing in the past. But, you know, I think, though, that I don't know what the other members of the board feel like, but in my opinion, we need to take what's available to us on an annual basis. We can put what's in the budget, you know, so you got something to work with. But as far as the request, just like what Anthony did with that former issue there, if we get more or less, we just do a budget amendment. But I think we ought to get what's coming to us every time. But for this, I have no problem with it. I'm glad to see it go into good use now instead of waiting some other time.
And once it's allocated to us, they don't take it back. So we get an allocation per each year, and then we just draw down this set amount each year. So there has been a little bit building up. Like I said, I can get you an exact amount that's in our account.
Now that would be good. And then we might want to look at that and go ahead and get those funds, because they're not doing the county any good laying up in Raleigh. Okay, thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Chair, as Wendy said, the money is coming here. We're using that 2.3 as a budget number as we work on the balance. So additional funds do come, and then we put them in an account, an all-purpose or a school lottery fund balance account, so that we can use them as just like Wendy is proposing to interject back in and spend that additional money.
All right, and that's what I was thinking. I was just hoping that we don't leave money laying on the table in Raleigh. If we can get it, we should go ahead and get it. But if, obviously, you know, we have to have a number to.
Okay, then we will move to item 4.6, and Wendy will talk to us about an occupancy tax waiver request.
So this is a request for Wingate by Wyndham for $2,128. They paid the amount that was due April 20th, or actually it was May 20th. They didn't pay it until August 24th. And this is the hotel's first violation. And when I wrote this, they were in good standing, but their September payment is late. We called them and they said it was mailed the 18th. However, we just haven't received it yet, and the mail has been taking longer than normal. So I just wanted to add that in there. So this is the first time that they've been late. Is this for this penalty is $2,128.
Okay.
And I can let you know before the final approval in 2 weeks if we receive that payment.
Okay, any questions for Wendy?
No, not a question, but I mean, I guess it's just a comment that I don't remember this ever coming up before. Have we had another one that's come up?
I saw David turn his camera on, but before, it's been nice having David in our finance area, but before, for one-time offenses, that we didn't bring it before the board, but according to David Goldberg, we need to bring it before the board each time there's a penalty waiver.
Okay, well, that makes sense, because I didn't remember ever hearing of it, and I thought, well, surely somebody has missed a payment somewhere along the way. So, okay, so now we'll start to hear these periodically as they happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Sorry, I wreck everyone's fun. I'm sorry.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much. And Wendy has the next item also, which is update of capital project fund budgets and related ordinances.
So we received a little over $1 million from the North Carolina Department of Transportation for Hickory Ridge Elementary School road improvements. So this budget amendment recognizes those revenues, and then it transfers it to our capital improvement fund, investment fund. So for future expenditures. So we're just recognizing that revenue, and then that 1.38 million, and we'll just sit there until commissioners decide how that's best to be used. And it also increases $278,000 to Kannapolis City Schools for deferred maintenance, and that's for Forest Park Elementary.
Okay, and that's where we have to fund road improvement projects for new schools that are constructed, and then the state reimburses us for those expenses.
Yes.
Right. Any questions, commissioners? Okay, then we will move now to item 4.8, Cabarrus County Emergency Medical Services Headquarters discussion, and Kyle will lead us in that.
Good evening again. Presenting the GMP2, which is the final portion of the EMS headquarters project. So that is the actual building. If the board will recall, we already have a pre-construction contract with Vinoy McFarland Joint Venture. In addition, we have the GMP1, which is the site portion of the project, as well as GMP 1.5, which is the steel of the project. All of those are already executed, have been approved by the board and encumbered. Obviously, we did all of those to get a jump on the market. This region's market is, I wouldn't say volatile, but increasing on a daily basis. So obviously, we tried to get all of those locked in. On August 31st and September 7th, We bid out the remaining divisions, so the remaining construction parts, so the actual building. The reason we had to do it on 2 different days is because we did not have enough bidders by general statute on the first day, which is the 31st. So please keep in mind, a $15 million building, and you couldn't get 3 subcontractors or contractors to bid on those divisions. And the reason I'm just kind of trying to explain what the market is doing to us right now is it's going to affect all of our projects, including the schools, moving forward. On the second day of bidding, we finally did get all of the required submitters, and I'm happy to present GMP2 to the board, and this is the proposal. The total guaranteed maximum price is $12,090,774. So for the board to approve that, it would allow the county manager and legal counsel to move forward with another amendment or change order or extension to the existing contract, as we've done each of the times moving forward, to be able to lock that in at the regular session. And I'm open to any questions you might want to ask about how does this fall within budget. As you can see, there is no budget amendment, so that shows you that we are within budget for the project. But the overall cost from when we went from DD estimate to this bid was an increase of just under 10%. And I will clarify that. Our DD estimate, which is your design documents, okay, so that's right before it goes into final construction documents. And this is with no scope change, meaning we didn't slip an extra 10,000 square feet into the building or anything like that. That was done in March of 2021. When we bid in September of 2021, 6 months later, the cost increase ranged in between 8 and 10%.
Okay, questions for Kyle on this item? Everything that you just explained certainly is what we're hearing on a regular basis out in the marketplace.
Well, I am the living stress proof that it is true.
Kyle, I do have one question. I don't have it right here in front of me now, but I was reviewing this over the weekend.
Yes, sir.
And I seen where that there's an extra $150,000 thrown in there from the GMP contingency. I believe that's right. But now I also read where we get that back, but what's the stipulations on getting it back?
I have to approve everything just like we have with every other construction manager at risk. They can't take anything. And I think what you're talking about, the 150 is the escalation allowance.
That's the word I was looking for, escalation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. So that's why you try to lock your packages in. I'm sorry, the terminology I use is not always the same as you would use. You try to lock your big equipment purchases in so they don't get you with that escalation down the line. So that's why we obviously try to move as fast as we can, and why we move so fast on the steel, because usually that's your heftiest price. To give you an idea, Commissioner Shu, when we had the design document estimate done in March, that escalation amount was $423,000. It is now, so as you get closer to actually buying everything and building it, your escalation amount should drop. But you can see what this market is doing is it's not as much of a drop anymore.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for watching out for us, Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, commissioners? All right, thank you, sir. And
Sir.
Kyle also has the next item, which is Town of Midland temporary construction easement at Rob Wallace Park. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yes, sir. And Lauren, if you can bring up the prints for the Town of Midland's proposed Veterans Memorial at Rob Wallace Park. Awesome. The Town of Midland is requesting a temporary construction easement at Rob Wallace Park for the staging, access, and construction of the Town of Midland funded Veterans Memorial. This is very much the same type of temporary construction easement that I presented to the board several years ago about the crosswalk coming from Saddlebrook, which is right across the street. In fact, it's the same exact template. What we're allowing them to do is utilize the area of phase 1 of Rob Wallace. So kind of when you drive in, if you were to take that left in, there is actually a cattle gate that is an access to the other side of the lake that just maintenance uses to access. And we would allow them to go ahead and use that. And it would require us to close off the part of the trails that goes on that side, as well as some of the fishing over there. And we have discussed that, and we met with the ALP staff and the town of Midland staff. And once we were to have a site kickoff meeting with the contractor, I'd have more details of what the duration of that is going to be. But I was very adamant that the construction easement have some verbiage in there about restoration of any turf or trail that might be damaged while they were bringing in heavy equipment or staging. And this should not be confused with an actual MOU or a type of operating agreement. We do not have that in place. I have spoke with town administrator, town manager Doug Paris about that, but we will need an agreement in place once the memorial is built about who's responsible for what and what the expectation is of the appearance of that memorial. This is just more of making sure that we're protected both legally and from a maintenance standpoint of them bringing in a contractor who's not under contract with the county, but under contract with the town of Midland.
Okay, commissioners, do you have questions on this item?
And excuse me, Chairman, I should note, legal counsel did review this. Rich Cook did review this.
Thank you. Okay, any questions or comments? All right, thank you, sir. We will move now to item 4.10 from Planning and Development, Duke Energy Helping Home Fund Grant. And we are happy to have Kelly Sifford with us to talk about that item.
Thank you. So Friday I got notice from the North Carolina Weatherization Network that Duke Energy was once again doing their Helping Homes grant. They're calling it Helping Homes 2.0. So they are offering us $32,000 to do the same types of activities that we did before. We can do heating and air, we can do health and safety, structural repairs, a variety of different things. It does assist us in being able to weatherize homes because we can take out some of the things that defer homes from getting weatherization, and there is no match. It is just straight up funds from Duke, and I thought you all might be happy about that. So this is what I'm requesting is an approval of the memorandum of understanding, which I have sent to Rich to review, but it is similar to the one that we've already signed, and the associated budget amendment to place the revenues and the expenses in order for us to proceed.
Great. That is good news. Thank you. Any questions for Kelly? All right. Thank you. Okay, we move now to item 4.11, Procurement Office Ordinance for Disposing of Property valued at less than $30,000. We're glad to have David Goldberg with us to talk about that item.
Great. Thank you, Commissioners. So today we have an ordinance to authorize the county manager to dispose of real property valued at $30,000 or less. So under current law, what's supposed to happen is let's say you have a cruiser at the sheriff's department. What you're supposed to do is pass a resolution authorizing the county manager or some other official to dispose of to sell the property through a private negotiated sale. You can specify the minimum price, but you don't have to. And once that resolution is adopted, you have to put it in the newspaper, and then after that, 10 days after, that official is then allowed to sell the particular property. Obviously, that's a bit of a burdensome process. So the statutes allow us to adopt what they call a regulation to essentially provide blanket authority to a county manager or another official to dispose of property no longer needed by the county in the most economical way possible. So ideally, it provides for certain procedures to ensure that we get the best price for what we can and make it make this information make the surplus available to the general public. And where that information, where no one's interested in buying it, the county manager is also authorized to dispose of the property, just through junking it, salvaging it, what have you. They still have to come to you if there's any questions about nonprofits. If a nonprofit, for donations to nonprofits, there's other statutory requirements for that. And there's a very prescriptive record keeping requirement so that you can kind of keep track and report back to make sure we're getting full value for the surplus property. But like the last work session, you had a resolution dispose of those vehicles. You wouldn't have to do something like that for every single small ticket item. But like I said, it's only for items under $30,000. Doesn't apply to real estate. Doesn't apply to anything over $30,000. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, questions for David?
Yes, real quick. You said the $30,000 was in the statute?
Yes.
And how old is that? And if that was indexed for inflation, what would that number be now? I mean, that seems like a pretty small number.
So I've got the statute pulled up here. The 30,000 links back to, let's see here, so it was last updated in 2005. They went from 5,000 to 30,000.
Okay.
So.
Well, I can do that math sometime later. I'm just curious to know, what that is in today's dollars, but that's out of our hands. I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with us, correct?
Correct. And I mean, there are instances where counties and locals have gotten higher amounts, but we don't. I'm not aware. I'm not aware of that. Looks like Durham, maybe Ocean Island has a couple places got local acts providing for different amounts. But no, it's $30,000 until the General Assembly Act says otherwise.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, sir. Okay, next item is 4.12, property and liability, sheriff vehicle replacement. We're happy to have John Bradley with us to talk about that item.
Actually, sir, that'll be myself.
We thought you had already talked enough.
And I have, and I apologize in advance for talking anymore, sir. The request is to allow us to transfer funds from the property and liability internal service funds to the general fund to replace a sheriff's department vehicle. It's a 2020 Ford Interceptor utility that was destroyed in an accident on August 9th, 2021. I occasionally come to you for these type of things throughout the year. I believe this might even be the second or third one this year. These are what happens when our vehicles are totaled. And obviously the money we get back, in this instance, there will be subrogation, but obviously it takes a long time to get those funds back, and we have to fund to put another officer in a patrol vehicle. So this was actually a patrol, and this did happen on the interstate.
Okay, questions for Kyle? All right, I was obviously joking about your talking, but unfortunately this is our last item, so it's your last shot.
Yeah.
So if there are no questions, we move now to the approval of the regular meeting agenda. You all have a copy of that before you. I am not aware of any discussions that we've had earlier that require changes to that proposed agenda. Does anyone have any comments or? Yes, ma'am.
Is 4.10 supposed to be on here, the Duke Energy Helping Home Fund? So I don't see that one.
That
It's on today's agenda, but I didn't see it on the other. Did it need to be?
that would be a Kelly Sifford question, if she's still with us.
I think
It does need to be on there. That was just a late addition, so I don't think it got added to it, but you are correct in finding that. It needs to be on your regular agenda.
Okay.
So that addition would be, so we can get it in the motion,
Excuse me.
F17.
Lauren's chiming
It
in.
is on the latest edition that I sent you, and it's actually F13.
Okay.
Okay, I see it now. Yeah, F13.
Sorry. And I'm looking at the older one, so my bad.
No problem.
At least
Okay.
I'm paying attention.
Any other items? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion at this time that we approve the regular meeting agenda as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Shue, a second by Commissioner Strang. Is there discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. And that motion passes. We do have need of a closed session this evening. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss matters related to pending litigation and economic development as authorized by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 and 4.
Motion to go in closed session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Shue, a second by Commissioner Kiger to go into closed session. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. That motion passes, and we stand, or we will now be in closed session. We appreciate everyone that has joined us, and commissioners, you will have to log off and then log back on. Thank you for joining us tonight.